Alright guys, so we need to understand the basics of a roadrailer. So what exactly is a roadrailer? Well, the concept is simple. The roadrailers, it's a semi-trailer that could be hauled on roads by a semi, but can also be hauled by rail by using a fifth wheel coupling and bogies. This is what it looks like right here. And using these roadrailers allowed trailers to be pulled by locomotives without using any flat cars. And this is basically a train, but without the freight cars. And if you look right here on all these semi-trailers, look what they all say. The one and only Triple Crown. Triple Crown is the most known company for doing the roadrailers. Triple Crown Services had began in 1986 providing truckloads. And they were one of the most popular candidates for the bimodal transportation of the roadrailer. But where did the roadrailer actually originate from? Because it wasn't from Triple Crown, and it's actually been around a lot longer than what you think. The roadrailer was started by the one and only Chesapeake in Ohio. The original concept of the roadrailers were developed by the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway. This started in the late 1950s to the early 1960s, and they originally looked like this, using approximately 20 feet trailers made out of aluminum with a set of these dual tires and a railroad axle. And the original intent of these roadrailers was used to carry mail and express parts on the rear of C&O passenger trains, like this cover photo on a Chesapeake and Ohio Historical Society DVD. And these trains would first run on the old Pier Marquette between Chicago up to Detroit and terminating at Grand Rapids, Michigan. The C&O had slowly started to stop the usage of the roadrailers once the passenger trains had completely disappeared. However, the trailers didn't all exactly go away. Some of them are preserved at a museum, and other ones, like the one in this photo, are actually used as storage units for the railroad. When they were first made, the roadrailers weren't really known well to the public. The trend of the roadrailers didn't start climbing up until the 1980s, and other railroads would give it a shot at using them. An example would be BNSF Railway, that had first started them in the 90s, just a few years after their merger was made. BNSF would run a set of roadrailers between Kansas City, Kansas and Saginaw, Texas. The symbol would run under a QKCK SAG and QSAG KCK, when a Q train would typically be under an intermodal symbol. Some examples of other railroads doing it is Amtrak, even Union Pacific had a shot at it, and more. And Canadian National had their own roadrailers, and they also used some of their roadrailers for storage units, as this Google Street View picture here seen of some roadrailer cars being used as storage units in Effingham, Illinois.
I'm slitting my throat.
Now, all those railroads that I had said that would use roadrailers at one point, they all stopped using them a long time ago. However, there was one railroad that would use them longer than any other railroad. And we cannot forget about Norfolk Southern. They would use the roadrailers for 38 consecutive years. Now, they had a lot more roadrailers in existence, and they were all abolished at some point. But there were two that would stand out, and that would run the longest out of any of them. And that was Norfolk Southern's trains 255 and 256. 255 was the westbound roadrailer from Detroit to Kansas City, and 256 was the eastbound counterpart from Kansas City to Detroit. And these last two roadrailers would have one purpose. They would haul auto parts between Kansas City and Detroit. These roadrailers would be almost a daily occurrence on Norfolk Southern's busy Lafayette district. Now, as for these roadrailer trains, they would run every day, but 256 would not run on Sundays, and 255 wouldn't run on Mondays. And so, but on Tuesday through Saturday, both the roadrailers would run at some point, and they would typically run midday across the central Illinois area. Now, back to my topic. Why did the roadrailer trains basically disappear? Well, there's a couple of reasons why the railroads would stop running these eventually. One of them was due to a railroad interest. All the Class 1 railroads were interested in hauling longer and heavier trains all at once. And the roadrailers would also cause reliability issues and more maintenance requiring because of the old age. This equipment right here was outdated, and the provider that Norfolk Southern would use was no longer building these things, as the equipment was just honestly very, very outdated. And at this point, Norfolk Southern was screwed. They had to change it up. And this is where we lead to the final roadrailer trains ever running. Weeks before, I had gotten word that the final Norfolk Southern Triple Crown trains were going to be running on the Lafayette District. On August 24th and August 25th is when the last days of the roadrailers will run, and the roadrailers will then become history in the books. On Saturday afternoon, 255 and 256 were both going to meet in the central Illinois area. The final roadrailer meet had taken place at Sidney, Illinois. The last NS-256 had NS-8100 on point, the nickel plate road heritage unit, and it met 255 with the solo C-44-9W leader at around the mid-afternoon. On the very next day, the last 255, which I wasn't able to catch, ended up having NS-1073, the Penn Central SD-70 ACE heritage unit. And this would be the final runs of the roadrailers ever. And rail fans from all across had showed up at different spots to see the meet and the roadrailer trains for the last time. After the roadrailer trains were done running, the Triple Crown train itself will still exist, but instead of being hauled as a roadrailer, they will be put on TOFC cars, or trailer on a flat car. They would be put onto these spine cars, and this is what the Triple Crown trains would look like. Originating and terminating at the same spots, the symbols 255 and 256 would be changed to 251 and 252. And this is now the present. A few weeks prior, there was also an NS-207 that ran up the Southern West District, and they were hauling all spine cars. And those same spine cars would be used on the Triple Crown train that you're seeing right now. I am very thankful that I had the chance to catch the Triple Crown train a couple of times, and I was actually able to go up north to see the final train meet happen at Sidney with tons of other people. So fellas, here is my documentation of the last roadrailer meet at Sidney, Illinois. And thank you guys for watching.